Hi. I'm just on my state's elections and voting information site, and I just wanted to put out a reminder. Something that sounds so plainly obvious, but we really need to get back to having this in the forefront of our minds. And I'll just chat while I'm talking about it for a second. There's a misinformation campaign that was used against us rather heavily, that voting doesn't matter, and there was a lot of evidence to show that certain campaigns from other countries was used to interfere on our elections through media, through misinformation, to encourage disillusionment in voters. And tap on their nihilism and their weak spots. And we took the bait as a country. We took the bait, and 60% of voters never showed up. At least, I think it was like 60%. I voted for Kamala, but there's so much more that we can do. And one of the things that I think we need to get a grasping on again, something I couldn't even wait to dress myself up for. I thought I'd, relax and take a shower and look comfy. But no, I don't think that this thought can wait on that. It's really that people sacrifice their lives for these votes. And that is directly counter to the misinformation that many of us have been fed. In a time where we are all vulnerable, and we have been for the last decade, at least decade. It goes way back further than that, but let's just focus on the last 10 years for the moment for this conversation. We had a pandemic, economic upheaval. We've had a shaking of the foundations of a lot of things that we thought were taken for granted. And the last 10 months has proven, almost the last year, has proven that none of that is taken for granted. And nihilism is toxic. In this case, anyway, it is. I think as a person who is studying the liberal arts, I have a unique perspective here. And my opinion of the way that we understand and assess nihilism in this country is that someone else or some outside force has to determine whether or not something has a meaning. And if no one else is doing that, things are meaningless. And I think that's dumb. I think that the way I personally interpret nihilism in this context is that we give things meaning. We have to do it. It's why we have a brain that reasons and analyzes, and we make decisions that are complex beyond the biological drive that we have at the base level. And so when it comes to voting, we have to show that we care and act upon that. That's our work. None of this is revelatory. I was raised on this. I was raised on it. And it is, a lesson that we can all learn, that it is the ultimate disrespect to say, oh, my vote doesn't matter, or I don't like the choices I've got. Well, fix it. There are so many generations before us who understood that we have to dig in our heels and hold our ground. And every generation is called to do that. because, you know, time slips by. Sometimes we forget, but it's now time for us to remember. It's time for us to remember that our votes count and that being conscientious of the person next to you and your community matters. Things of substance like that matter. And while I think entertainment is also, it also serves a purpose and it's also a good thing to have joy, we also need to remember that people literally died unalived, excuse me. People literally sacrificed their lives to ensure that we have these votes, that we continue to have the opportunity to build a better democracy, a greater, more liberated society, one that is conducive to living on this planet that we live on. And undermining anybody who stands against that is the equivalent of telling us that the people who gave their lives don't matter. Whether it's Black Americans fighting in the civil rights movement or Indigenous people who fought so that they could get a say on their own land by voting, or all of the service members who went into war in various conflicts, including against Mustache Man and his armies and all of his Axis powers. They did it because they knew it needed to be done, and I think that we're being called up during this time to do the same in our own way. Like right now, we're being manipulated quite a lot into just reacting in a violent way without thinking or strategizing or planning. Acting from fear. So that's not the solution. But what is the solution is recognizing that this work takes time. And strategizing takes time. Educating ourselves takes time. There will absolutely be times where we need to act, but we have to do it using the gift of reasoning that we all have. And also thinking from empathy and not bleeding heart, weepy feelings. That's not what I mean. I mean a recognition of how we can reduce harm and help all of the communities of people who make up this country. So I'm here getting ready for the election next Tuesday on November 4th, 2025. Right now it's the 30th of October at 9:45 p.m. And I'm just contemplating on that. And it's funny how you can forget these things and then they pop up years later. We've all been through collective trauma, and that is also going to need to be addressed, like the pandemic and, economic upset and trying to fight for basic things that everyone else around the world gets to have. Like, no one should be going without food. And I actually think that no one should have to work for shelter, heat, clean water, hygiene items, education, and, food, clothing. I don't think anyone should have to work for those things. If you want to work for more than that, right? I believe you can, but I don't think it's so wrong that we have to work for our dignity. those bare minimum things that we all deserve as human beings. And like, we're going to have to fight for all of the things that certain entities want to keep from us, just like it's been for thousands and thousands of years. This is just the way it is for now, unless the paradigm changes and we get to just have those things. Great, but for right now, our generations that are existing at this point in time, particularly in the US, but across the world, we're all going to have to just take a stand. I know that there's certain countries around the world that have a big and very present populace of Gen Z citizens who are all fighting back, and I think they're inspiring. So I hope I said this clearly. If you want further clarification, I'm happy to make more videos about this. But yeah, tell me what you think. And yeah, just consider everything that your ancestors did and your previous generations did to fight for what was right. And if there's any shadows in your family history, contend with those, be honest about them, and be the person that stops the cycle of trauma, taking it one step further. Because if we do the work, even though it doesn't magically get better overnight, just like going to therapy or really working on any goal, it gradually gets better. And yes, there can be setbacks and there can be even abject failures, but all you have to do is keep persisting, and it does get better, and the momentum builds and it gets faster and faster and better. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say tonight. Thank you for listening if you've gotten to the end of this video, and I would love to hear your insights if you feel like you want to expand upon this at all. I just noticed a lot of people were feeling very discouraged and sad. And I'm here to tell you that we have to just keep moving forward and work against whatever is trying to crush us, because I think that's when things it becomes a cataclysm. Am I saying that right? Cataclysm for change. The worst things that can happen sometimes inspire people to, move their butts. Let's see where we can take this. Have a good night.